Hi, my name is Paige Rosie. The topic I'll be covering is measurement, specifically shapes, and my lessons are based on a 2-3 year level. The first lesson is a prior knowledge activity. So the teacher will be reading the book Captain Invincible and the Space Shapes as an introduction to the topic of 3D shapes. By doing this, the teacher is engaging the students while the students are enjoying the story and gaining an understanding of the basics of the topic of 3D shapes. This book is based on an astronaut going through space and needing the help of the 3D shapes to find his way back home. The teacher then gives each student an everyday object such as a can or a water bottle and asks them what they know about their shape, such as how many faces does it have, how many edges. The common answers given by the students are then placed on the board by the teacher. The teacher will then give an explanation of an example of a face, edge and vertice. By placing the answers on the board and giving the students a shape each is a way of remembering for the students if they've already learnt about it before. Students will be then given an alphabet sheet with each letter of the alphabet going down the page and will be asked to fill out the sheet using words they know about 3D shapes to fill in each letter of the alphabet. While the students are doing this, the teacher will be walking around the classroom assisting students who are struggling. For this activity, students will be placed in groups of 3 to 4 as a way of helping each other and for those who are struggling. The answers given at the start of the lesson and that are on the board will be used as a starting point for students who are struggling also. The teacher will then have each group read out 5 things that they've got in their alphabet list. Everyone else will be listening as the group reads these out and adds any words that they don't have on their own sheet. The teacher will then place these sheets up around the classroom as a starting point to investigating 3D shapes and their characteristics. A follow-up lesson could be a direct link to faces, vertices and edges, and a deeper in-look into what these are. As for assessment, the teacher will be observing how students cooperate with each other to answer the alphabet letters. They will be noting how much assistance was needed and how many letters of the alphabet were filled out. The second lesson starts off with the teacher recounting what they learnt last lesson about 3D shape. The introduction to the follow-on lesson will include the teacher asking open-ended questions such as who knows what a vertice is and how do you know this is. This relates to Jaworski, as he states that negotiation and discussion are key to learning. Students will call out what they remember from last lesson, any of the words that they wrote down, or remember from the story told from last lesson. The teacher will use everyday objects such as boxes and water bottles to help with this explanation as an introduction. The teacher will then pair up students who they think will work well together, and each pair will be given an iPad. These students will then walk around the schoolyard taking pictures of 3D objects that they see. The teacher will follow and assist students who are struggling or who are not on task. This relates to Sullivan's theories, as he states that the use of a variety of modes is key to learning. The students will take photos of anything that they see that have faces, edges or vertices. After about 20 minutes, when the students have taken a fair amount of photos, they will be asked back to the class to present the photos to the class. They'll present these in front of the class and describe the characteristics of each shape, how many faces, vertices and edges these have. The teacher will be watching on and asking open-ended questions like how do you know this is a vertice and show me where they are. The students will then be given a worksheet to work individually, answering questions based on the photos that they took, such as how many faces, edges, vertices does this shape have. The assessment of this lesson includes observation of how students work together using the iPads and presenting their photos to the class. The worksheet that was completed will also be used as a part of assessment. A follow-on lesson to this will include students making their own shapes. This will help students fully understand what a face is by making it themselves. This will help students understand what the characteristics of shapes are by making them themselves and labelling these. The final lesson's introduction will include the teacher putting on a video of 3D shapes. This also relates to Sullivan as it uses a range of modes, not just talking and working on worksheet. As the video plays, the teacher will pause here and there to ask the students questions such as what shape is this, how many faces does it have and how do you know this. This will also allow the students to ask the teacher questions and clarify what they know. The students will then be given a pot of Play-Doh each to work individually and make their own 3D shapes. Once the shape is made, the students should cut out a piece of paper write face, edge or vertex on this piece of paper and label their shape accordingly. This is based on a constructivist theory, as the student is seen as the centre of their learning. The teacher will sit alongside struggling students and make shapes alongside them, which also relates to Van Horn, as the teacher is a parallel player playing alongside the children. Once students have made as many shapes as they can think of, they will be asked to make their own shape, and label this also, making sure it has two faces, edges and vertices. At the closing of this lesson, the shapes will be placed around the edge of the classroom as a display. The students will then be handed a quiz to complete at the ending of the topic. The quiz will also have open-ended questions, so students are able to show their understanding in depth as much as they can. This relates to Vygotsky, as students are displaying their learning in their own way. This quiz will be used as an assessment piece at the end of the topic. This quiz will be used at the end of the topic as an assessment. As a follow-on lesson, the teacher could move on to symmetry and how shapes can be symmetrical. The maths lessons that I planned, I wanted to make sure they were very engaging and included a lot of play and active learning. I wanted the students to fully understand and use their own definitions for their learning when explaining what they've learned. I wanted the teacher to be second in line of their learning so that they could observe and test them on what they were learning during play. The prior lesson to this included an alphabet list so the students could demonstrate the words that they already knew about the topic of shapes, specifically 3D shapes. The next lesson included a lot of technology, using the iPads and watching a video, so this included not only talking and playing, but using ICT and transferring these skills between ICT and math. In the final lesson, the children were able to play and demonstrate their learning by making their own shapes and coming up with one of their own, demonstrating how they know what a face, vertice and edge is, as well as the quiz. I feel these assessment pieces will be very helpful for any teacher assessing students on their knowledge of 3D shapes.